Hi, this is Dave Schleis coming to you from Kscope 11. I'm fortunate enough to have an opportunity to sit down with one of the people here who truly need no introduction. The Tom behind Oracle's Ask Tom column, Mr. Tom Kyte. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
So, I was wondering if you could tell us just how long have people been asking Tom, and how did you become Oracle's answer man?
Well, it all started way back in the 90s, actually. And there was this thing called the Internet Usenet Newsgroups, sort of the precursor to Facebook or Twitter, if you will. There was discussion forums, comp.databases.oracle, .oracle.server, and so on. And I started answering questions. The first one was actually October of 1994. I still remember that first initial one. But over the years, I answered a lot of questions. And once on the forums, somebody asked how to rename a column. And this was prior to Oracle AI, when we had an alter table rename column capability. And someone else posted, oh, you just do this, log into sys, and you update sys.call $, and it's renamed. And I wrote back and said, that's a very, very dangerous thing to do. Please don't tell people to do that. Where did you get such advice? And it turned out he got the advice from Oracle Magazine.
Oh.
It was a user-supplied tip. And what happened was they had nobody vetting those tips at that point in time. So I got in touch with them and said, that's a really bad thing to do. Let's not do that. And if you would like, give me all the database tips, and I'll tell you if they're good or bad. Give you a thumbs up, thumbs down. And so they started giving me the tips. And that's when I joined the staff on Oracle Magazine and had my name in the masthead. And then they mentioned that they get questions from time to time. Would I mind answering some of the questions? So in about December of 1999, I got my first set of questions from them, and I wrote the column, Ask Tom, behind it, and it got published in the January-February issue of Oracle Magazine. And so that was the genesis of Ask Tom. It was supposed to be a magazine column, but then we needed a way to control the flow of the questions over time, because once you start answering questions, you get more questions. And the more questions you answer, the more questions you get. Right? So we needed a way to control the flow of the questions, and they were just coming to me via email, and there was just too many. So we built a website, and that rolled out in about April or May of 2000. And so since then, I've gone from 0 questions to close to 40,000 questions now over time. That's sort of the progression.
Wow. Okay, some of the information that you have on Ask Tom is when you last answered the question and when the question was first asked. I did a snapshot of the last two weeks of your answers and found that 50% of the questions were first asked over 7 years ago. Does that mean that people should really search first, or is there more to it behind it?
They should search more frequently. There's two things at play here. One, I travel a lot more today than I used to in the past. So on weeks that I travel, so a week that I'm here at ODTUG, for example, I don't have as much time to answer questions. I can't take as many questions. So I do take less questions today than I did 5 years ago. So there's some skew there. Mm-hmm. The other part of the skew is you don't see every question that I get. Many of them are not published because I simply respond with, when I searched with, and I just paste the subject of their question into there.
Yeah, I've seen
I
those.
saw this. What did you see? Right? And I don't publish those frequently.
I see some of them.
I do it every now and then as a gentle reminder, but yes, the search feature could be used a lot more because there's really only, like when you rip it all away, there's only 5 or 6 real questions. Everything else is just a variation of the theme. Right? So everybody's running into the same challenges. I've answered how to pivot a result set over and over and over again. Right? And so now I just say search for pivot.
So are there some questions that actually transcend the technologies, though?
What do you mean by that?
The questions that people ask that have more to do than just with Oracle, that could go beyond what Oracle does.
Yeah, I get a lot of real personal type of questions, like, should I be a DBA? Should I be a developer? What books should I read? What class should I take? What OCP exams should I take? How do I prepare for that? So a lot of life sort of decision things, which, you know, I typically refuse to answer because, you know, whether you should be a DBA or developer, you know, they want to know based on money. I don't believe in that myself. I say, what's your temperament? What do you find more enjoyable? Because if the DBA pays 50% more than the developer, but you hate your job, right? You don't want to get up in the morning. It's not going to be worth it. So you can be successful in any of those career paths. You have to figure out what it is that you enjoy doing and do that. And so that's the sort of advice I give out for that. The large majority of the questions are centered on the database, right? Because I make that very clear. When you go to ask a question, I make you read a long page and check off on the bottom that you've read the page.
I'm sure everybody reads every word.
I have this page on my Flickr account so that when the person obviously didn't read the page, I can just reply back with the URL and say, read number 3 again. Right? So, number 3, by the way, on my list is, if you expect a query as an answer, you had better give me a create table and inserts so that I have some data to work with. You know? So if I could just ask one thing out there, when you're asking a question, read that page, you know, give information, give the example. Don't give table describes and select stars from tables. Give something that we can actually run in SQL Plus and you know, have your example work.
Well, thanks for your time, and
Thank you.
Have a great time at Kscope.
Okay.